President Donald Trump lit a fire underneath Hollywood Sunday evening when he made this post over on his social media platform, Truth Social, and it reads, "The movie industry in America is dying a very fast death. Other countries are offering all sorts of incentives to draw our filmmakers and studios away from the United States. Hollywood and many other areas within the USA are being devastated. This is a concerted effort by our other nations and therefore a national security threat. It is in addition to everything else, messaging and propaganda. Therefore, I'm authorizing the Department of Commerce and the United States Trade Representative to immediately begin the process of instituting a 100% tariff on any and all movies coming into the country that are produced in foreign lands. We want movies made in America again." Now, you will notice that there's kind of a vagueness to how this will actually look, and that's something that is causing a lot of uncertainty within the Hollywood system these days. I think it's a little bit hyperbolic to say it's a national security threat, but he's not really subtle. He's obviously being a showman in this sort of thing. And with the vagueness, I think a lot of that is intentional to cause uncertainty within the film industry in order to try to get them to come to the negotiating table, because this is something that a lot of people, even people within the industry, people who would otherwise hate Donald Trump, have said over the last several years that, yeah, there's a problem within the U.S. Film industry where it's cheaper to take your whole production across the world to another country versus just shooting it downstairs in the soundstage that you already have at the Hollywood studios. And to me, that seems kind of ridiculous. And I think Trump is picking up on this, or someone told Trump about what's going on. He's like, yeah, that's kind of ridiculous. So he makes this announcement and just gets a lot of people stirred up in order to try to get them to try to figure out okay, what can we do in order to make things better, or how can we bring productions back into the U.S. And you can see as the market opened up this morning, there was somewhat of an impact on the value of a lot of these production studios. Walt Disney Company, you can see, it recovered, but still there was that noticeable dip. And I think it is fair to assume that that dip right here is because of the announcement that Trump made. A similar thing with Universal, where you see it was somewhat down from when the market opened up. Paramount, same thing. Warner Brothers Discovery, you can see that dip right there, as well as Netflix. That was kind of down. So this is having an effect within Hollywood right now. So it's just a question of what will actually happen with these. Will these tariffs actually go into effect, and what will it mean? There's so much uncertainty with this that I almost didn't want to cover it until we got more information, but I think it's important to talk about right now because this is big news within Hollywood, and I talk about entertainment news. So that's why I decided to chime in and give my input, or what I think this will actually mean for the industry. So this article from the Hollywood Reporter is talking about some of the questions that people have with this. Trump's 100% tariff on movies, 8 key questions the industry is now pondering and dreading. So scrolling down into the article where they get to the meat of it, what films will be hit by the tariffs, and will it be retroactive? I don't think it'll necessarily be retroactive, as in to say, if a movie's already out, it's going to be tariffed. I think could be retroactive to stuff that was started production before these tariffs go into place, assuming that they actually do go into place. And I don't think it would necessarily be the whole cost of the production. I think what this will actually look like is if a movie from a U.S. studio has, let's say, $100 million budget, and they shot 50% of it, or 50% of the production costs were overseas, then I think that 50%, which would be $50 million, would have a 100% tariff. So that means another $50 million on top of that. So that $150 million movie, or the $100 million movie, would now cost the studio $150 million in order to produce. Now they're going to get some incentives to shoot it overseas in certain locations. I believe in the UK, for instance, you get a 30% tax credit for stuff that production costs overseas are shot in their country, just so long as I think it's at least 10% or more was shot in the UK. So it doesn't necessarily mean all of it. So you shoot 50% of it in the UK on a $100 million budget, then you'll get 30% of that back, but then you're getting 100% of that 50 million on top of it. So you can get the idea. It's basically saying you're going to save money by shooting it overseas, but you're going to you're also going to be incurring that cost elsewhere. So you might as well just keep it overseas. And I think that's the whole point of this sort of thing. So that's how I think it's going to work out when it deals with the budget. So if it's something that's already in production, well, then it'll obviously affect them if if the production is still underway when these go into effect. Obviously, newer productions, it's the same thing. So the whole point is to try to keep your productions domestically. Hollywood, that might not necessarily be the best place, because we've seen for years now that the government of California has really kind of, I don't know, taken the Hollywood film industry for granted. And that's why in the last decade or so, we've seen productions move, even if it's not overseas, to other states. Georgia has a growing film industry, Texas, Louisiana, they all have growing film industries right now as a result of California kind of dropping the ball on this sort of thing. So even if Hollywood doesn't recover from this, then I think other states could kind of reap the benefits of all this. So what about Netflix? And I think this is an interesting point, because the post itself said movies, but again, it was kind of vague. So I think it is safe to assume at this point that it would also apply to TV series. Now, my big question is whether or not this will be just from American studios that are producing overseas, or would it also account for foreign produced things like it says here, Squid Game, Money Heist, The Crown, or will it be the production studios or the distributor of it? Again, we don't know how this is going to play out, though. Maybe it could just be the distributor of the product or whatever. So that means Netflix would have to incur that tariff for the stuff that was spent overseas, and they'll take that into consideration when they choose to actually distribute it. But the cost will kind of get passed on to the production company. You get the idea. There's a lot of moving parts when it comes into this, so we don't know. I think the point is to keep American productions domestic. So I don't know if it'll necessarily affect foreign produced stuff. Maybe that's just the detail that needs to be ironed out later on. Would the tariffs bring production back to the United States? And it does say here, interestingly enough, Trump isn't all wrong when he says film production in America is dying. A report last month from Film LA, the nonprofit group that handles film permits for the city and county, showed a shooting in LA decreased more than 22% over the 3-month period from January to March this year. And this is down from last year that was already down from the previous year, which was already down. This paragraph goes on to say, Film LA reports productions has dropped nearly 40% in the last decade. The most recent report from movie industry research firm ProdPro shows production spending in the U.S. overall was $14.54 billion last year, down 26% since 2022. So even if a lot of these productions are going to other states, this is saying that film productions in the U.S. as a whole is down 26%. So even if other states are picking up the slack or taking business away from Hollywood, a lot of the business is still going overseas. So the incentives that's happening domestically just isn't good enough in order to bring these company or productions back. Now, I don't think that this is necessarily the best move in order to try to bring these productions back, because I think the best thing that have happened would basically just be different states, if they want more productions because it gives good business to them, then they give better tax incentives to actually have them come there. Because if you're basically just saying like, oh yeah, because this is what it essentially you're doing is just saying like you have to film in the US, no ifs, ands, or buts, because it's just too cost prohibitively expensive to shoot overseas. So that doesn't really provide an incentive for states to give incentives, because, well, they're like, well, you're going to have to come here anyway, so why are we going to give you a tax break? I think a better solution would be to provide better tax incentives for people to come here. But where some people are saying like there should be federal incentives for that, maybe there's an argument to be had with it. I think it should be handled at the state level. And we've seen some states try to do that in order to draw business away from California, and it's been successful for them. Maybe they should increase better incentives. But one thing that it's talking about in this article is the unions over here are a lot more robust than unions overseas. And I think that's really the big kicker when it comes to this sort of thing here is that there was deals created where you have to pay people more over here than you would in over countries. So even if there's a better tax incentives, I mean, maybe that's not really enough. And to me, it's kind of funny though, a lot of the people who are upset about this news saying that, about trying to keep the film industry within the U.S. were also the same people championing the unions when they were on strike. What was it, like a year or two ago? So it's like, yeah, we should pay the union members more money, but at the same time, we're in favor of the studios bypassing them entirely and going to cheap labor overseas. I just think that's kind of funny, or maybe people just aren't thinking about it in those terms, but that's ultimately what happened. And what this method is trying to do is bring business back to these people who are actually fighting to get better pay. We'll see how this works out. I'm thinking, like I said at the start, this is basically just him declaring his intent that we need to do something in order to bring more jobs back into the US. And if this is a way to do it, then that's one way. I don't necessarily think it's the best way, but it's definitely going to get Hollywood talking and trying to figure out, like, okay, what can we actually do? Where can we meet you in the middle on this one in order to find something that brings more business back domestically, but at the same time doesn't penalize us this severely if we need to shoot some stuff overseas. But let me know what you think about this in the comment section below. Do you think this is just Trump declaring his intent? Do you think he's going to follow through with it? Or do you think there's a benefit to this? Because like I said, there's a lot of questions to be had with this. So I am curious what people have to say about it. And also, if you haven't already, make sure you click that subscribe button if you want to stay up to date with the latest entertainment news. And don't forget to click that like button and share this video out there because it really helps out with the channel. Thank you.